How do you even begin to get a handle on a country like Afghanistan? For decades, right, all we've seen are news reports, politics, and war. But if you really want to understand its heart, its complex soul, you have to look somewhere else. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to use the powerful stories that have come out of its history to try and understand the nation from the inside out.
And we're starting right here. This line, it's not from a newspaper. It's from a history book a young boy finds in the novel The Kite Runner. And this one sentence, tucked away inside a story, just lays bare this brutal, centuries-old truth about the ethnic divisions that are really the bedrock of so much of Afghanistan's conflict.
So let's start there, with a very personal story that ends up being a powerful lens for a huge national tragedy. Okay, so in The Kite Runner, you've got these two boys, Amir and Hassan. I mean, they grow up together, they're as close as brothers, but they are not equals, not even close. Amir, he's a Pashtun, part of the dominant, privileged ethnic group. And Hassan? He's a Hazara, from a minority that's been persecuted for generations. This division between them, it's basically a map of Afghanistan's entire social structure, just played out in their friendship. This isn't just some backstory, It is the central conflict of their lives and of their country. So that betrayal that happens in the novel, it's like a mirror. It gives you the emotional key to understanding all these abstract historical forces and hatreds that have just torn the nation apart for so long. It turns a headline you might ignore into a genuine heartbreak. All right, so now let's zoom out from this one story and look at the bigger historical map that created these divisions in the first place. I mean, listen to this quote from a 19th century Afghan ruler. It just nails it, doesn't it? A goat between two lions. For centuries, the country has been caught in the middle of empires, a strategic piece of land that everyone was fighting over. And all that pressure from the outside meant that a real sense of internal unity never had a chance to grow. And you can see that pressure playing out right here. First, you've got the Great Game between Britain and Russia. Then, fast forward to 1979, the Soviet invasion. And that wasn't just an invasion, it was a cataclysm. It completely shattered the country, it fueled a horrific civil war, and it directly paved the way for the Taliban to rise to power. Every single one of these events just made the existing cracks in their society deeper and deeper. So what are these cracks? What are we actually talking about here? Let's break down the specific ethnic and religious groups that really define the country.
Okay, this table helps lay it out. And while there are a lot of different groups, the main dynamic you see again and again in the literature is between the Pashtuns, the biggest, most powerful group, and the Hazaras, who have faced just waves of persecution. We're talking massacres, what the source even calls ethnic cleansing, back in the 19th century. This is that same division we saw between Amir and Hassan. And then you throw religion into the mix, and it just pours gasoline on the fire. The Pashtuns are mostly Sunni, while the Hazaras are mostly Shia. That theological difference became a tool, really, a way to justify oppression, creating a barrier that was both ethnic and religious.
So let's bring this all back down to what it actually felt like on the ground. What did it mean for ordinary people when one of these groups, the Pashtun-dominated Taliban, took total control? Well, the reality was just rule after rule. Life was governed by decrees. Women were basically erased from public life. Culture itself was extinguished. No music, no books, not even something as simple as flying a kite. The control was just absolute. And the punishments for stepping out of line were brutal and very, very public. And just like we saw before, the human impact of these cold, hard rules is best understood through a single searing moment from the books. This isn't a policy document. This is the reality of a woman being beaten in the street just for raising her voice, trying to be heard by a vendor who couldn't hear well. The source uses this incredible phrase, a clandestine existence, to sum it all up. For a whole generation of women, especially in cities where they'd had some freedom, life just became a prison inside their own homes. Their identity, their voice, their very presence, it was all just suffocated. So all of this, it leads to a really big, really crucial question. After invasion, civil war, ethnic persecution, and this kind of brutal oppression, how does a nation even start to process that level of trauma? Seriously, think about that. When your own history is a weapon, and just remembering is like walking through a minefield, how in the world do you move forward? Well, the answer, maybe surprisingly, isn't found in politics or in peace treaties. It's found in art, in the telling of stories. literature becomes the one space where a wounded civilization can actually begin to heal itself. You see, these novels are so much more than just entertainment. They're acts of defiance, acts of remembrance. They take these huge impersonal numbers of the dead and the displaced, and they give them names, they give them faces. They turn history from a dry list of facts into a shared human memory. And that's really what we leave you with, isn't it? These stories have given us a powerful way to understand Afghanistan's fractured past. The real question now is, what stories will be told next, and who's going to have the power to tell them? Because, as we've just seen, the story a nation tells about itself is one of the most powerful forces on Earth.